stand up in the middle to go dish us up dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Ooh la la.
Let's take this and put this down at the bottom here so I can see the health check. Alright. So yeah. Somebody sent me this a few streams ago.
Okay.
I opened it up and I started looking at Holmes's introduction. And I immediately stopped because I felt that this needed to be shared without us knowing what was going on. It's just a detective game, and it's gonna be no fun once we know what's going on.
Yeah, alright, fair enough. I'm with you so far.
So, we'll see if anybody shows up to tell us if this is too loud. It sounds loud as crap to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna remove one of my head things here so I can actually hear you.
Turn this down in my ear a little bit.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, no, it's all the way down.
If it's still super loud for you, maybe I should drop it a little bit more just to be on the safe side. Let's go down to 20. I usually go down to 10, but I get the feeling there's gonna be a lot of talking in this.
Yeah.
So
wanna be careful with that.
it's kind of weird hours everywhere but here, so there might be nobody showing up. But
Yeah.
let's start this up so you can see why. And there's somebody here.
Oh, hey.
They can tell us how it sounds compared to us.
Is it too loud? Are we too loud?
It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Here you go.
London is not a beautiful city. Under the soot that covers its buildings is a teeming mass of 4 million souls trying to survive, mostly off of each other. You see it in the paper every day. Thankfully, we have the London Times to keep us informed of all these troubling activities with an unbiased eye and razor-sharp accuracy. We find this publication to be of invaluable assistance in our investigations, and I'm sure you will as well. Among the forces of evil which run rampant in this city, there are also, thankfully, 2 groups of individuals who will aid us in our cause. As we do, they attempt to right wrongs and restore harmony and civility to the streets of London. The first of these groups is a ragtag association of young ruffians. I call them the Baker Street Irregulars. Don't let them fool you. They may be scruffy and ill-bred, but they are on the right side of the law. They can go everywhere, see everything, and overhear everyone. They are my eyes and ears in the streets of London, unquestionably a tremendous asset in our work. They will help us in our investigations if they can. The other group is a far more civilized collection of gentlemen and institutions. I call them the Baker Street Regulars. They, too, will be extremely useful in our work. At the start of any investigation, do keep in mind that it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Unwittingly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts. The people and places to whom I will now introduce you will help us to collect the facts. May we use them wisely. Come, the game's afoot.
He said data, and all I can think of is Star Trek.
I'm pretty sure Data from Star Trek will not be in this.
What a shame.
So yeah, I watched that and then immediately closed the game and was like, yeah, I need to. This needs to be shared. After seeing British Dad tell me about the Irregulars.
And
Notably,
the regulars?
aren't here, but we can learn about the regulars.
Alright.
Let's learn about the. Oh my God, there's so many of them.
Oh no. Alright, here we go.
Mr. Henry Ellis is the foreign news editor for the London Times. He is a great reservoir of information of what's happening on the continent. He also has an interest in crime news. Ellis is always happy to help when he can, but you must be careful of what you tell him, or you might find what you've confided to him in the next day's Times.
Okay.
Okay, so journalist, gotcha.
This is a records office housing documents pertaining to births, marriages, deaths, and last wills and testaments.
Okay.
Fair enough, alright.
Quentin Hogg is a crime reporter for the Police Gazette. He is an ex-police inspector who found the environment of Scotland Yard less than stimulating. He has a strong deductive mind and is a very good resource.
Okay.
Former Scotland Yard guy, gotcha.
Porky is not a pillar of society, I dare say, but he is a man who has learned from his mistakes and is trying to start a new life. Although he is no longer in prison, he is still behind bars, or shall I say, a bar.
Jolly good one, Holmes.
Yes, welcome. Well, the bar in question is the Raven and Rat Inn. Porky is the proprietor. He has been of great help to us in the past, and I expect he will continue to be in the future.
So this is going to be one of those Sherlock Holmes stories where Watson is just there to get dunked on the entire time. Gotcha.
Ah, Scotland Yard. If the Yard knew how to examine evidence with any skill, there would be no need for our services. Inspector Lestrade is the pick of a bad lot. But it is true they may be a source of valuable information. After all, the professional police have methods for gathering facts that are not open to us.
Let's go. It's like he's probably a judge.
Edward Hall is a young barrister whom you will find on most days at the Old Bailey. He's a cut above the other unimaginative members of his profession.
Holmes, don't you think you should explain to them the difference between a barrister and a solicitor?
Yes, of course, Watson. A solicitor handles the routine legal business of our society. If you do not have to go before a court, you will have no need for a barrister. If you must go before a court, then your solicitor would engage the services of a barrister.
So, kind of a lawyer.
Sir Jasper is the chief medical examiner for St. Bartholomew's Hospital. He is London's greatest forensic pathologist. You can depend on him for all the technical details that can be obtained from any corpse whose cause of death is in question.
I'm not gonna have to remember all these dudes and their roles, am I, by name?
Yeah, I've already forgotten, like, the entire first row here, so...
This gentleman is the head chemist at Scotland Yard Criminology Laboratory. It is rumored that Murray lives in the lab. He is eternally bent over one of his tables trying to extract the history of a crime from the physical evidence he's been given. If I can't find something in my own files, I go and examine the overflowing shelves of the great London Library. It is a wealth of information.
Cool.
Alright, library's a library. Good to know. Thanks, Holmes.
Now here is a person who usually gets in the last word. Langdale Pike is a human reference work on social scandal, especially on the London scene. He contributes bits of gossip to the garbage papers that cater to an inquisitive public. Head clerk Disraeli O'Brien is your contact in the Office of Records. The Office of Records contains legal records, both criminal and civil, as well as state papers. I think you'll find O'Brien to be a walking, or should I say sitting encyclopedia of the office's affairs.
Interesting. Just noticed that my mouse is way off track from where it actually is in game on the stream. But whatever. It doesn't matter that much. You guys can figure it out. Alright, so that's a bunch of old men. Gotcha. You should probably learn how to play.
I think you'll find these tools to be positively invaluable as you endeavor to help Holmes solve these cases.
Newspapers.
Sorry, I'm dying.
Directory, can send Holmes and Watson, send the thugs, or see if we know anything about them. Okay. I'll get a notebook.
Your handy-dandy notebook.
And we can get a hint if we get stuck. Yeah, looks like it also tells you if you got points for doing things or not, too. Alright, sending Holmes and Watson somewhere gets us, videos. Oh god.
Oh my.
Well, you ready to fail every case?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, here's what you get points for. Okay. Send detectives to a relevant location.
You get more points for sending them to somewhere shitty.
That's interesting, actually. Ah, it's golf scoring.
Okay.
And you get hit real bad if you screw up on the judge's questions.
Okay.
Okay, that's everything. All right, time to mess this up real hard.
Here we go.
What rubbish! What balderdash!
You must have read something terribly disturbing, Watson, for you to be so overwrought this early in the morning.
Indeed, Holmes. It's irresponsible of the Times to play upon people's superstitions.
Ah, you must be referring to the affair of the mummy's curse.
Has the entire city in an uproar. 3 men dead, and they expect us to believe that a 4,000-year-old mummy was the murderer. I'm surprised you haven't taken some interest in this case, Holmes.
To the contrary, my dear Watson. I have made some inquiries. Because I dare say I do believe this murderer is a much younger chap.
Okay.
All right.
The case of the mummy's curse. Let's just go to the judge.
No. Read the newspaper.
Fine. God. Huh, God.
A lot of newspapers. Holy bananas.
I got a selection of newspapers here. Alright. Let's look at the most recent one.
So, with regard to the recent mummy murders...
Alright, don't grave Rob, says
J.A. Merton.
J.A. Merton. Golden Week was fine.
I got sick.
She got sick. But other than that, it was fine. Yep, more mummies. So J.A. Merton's a name to keep in mind. Johnny Bulldog Trek is another... maybe. Although he seems to just think it's one of them there foreigners. That doesn't seem relevant.
Here's the foreigners.
Here are the foreigners. We should probably make sure we know who the foreign arrivals are. Alright, anything over here of interest?
The mummy strikes again.
Okay, an archaeologist was killed, alright.
Strangled.
Strangled with linen bandages.
That must have been taken a strong person.
Third murder in the past 6 weeks. He had gone to Egypt. The organizer was killed in March. Some other dude died last week.
Alright, Turnbull, Weatherby, and... who's the other one?
Windybank.
Windy Bank. Alright.
She was handed by Captain Herman Ramsey and his first... okay, we should probably talk to these guys.
Scotland Yard is useless. Cool.
They're the editors.
A Watson.
Dr. Watson just ripping these guys. Alright, that was... What does this do? Oh, tells me how the screen works. Gotcha.
Not gonna look at the older ones?
I guess I should look at the older ones. Let's see what we got. Some people were born, some people died.
Some other stuff happened. Archaeologists dead in mummy's tomb. I see it on the other side.
Yeah, over there. Some dude went crazy. Another dead man. Another dead
Lightning.
man.
15. That is not a man, that is a boy.
Whatever. Some jewels were stolen.
But was it the family jewels?
I want to know more about this.
In fact, considering that they're called the Oldenburg jewels, I assume that they are the family jewels.
I want to know more about this person just performing in the street with a bear. I assume it's completely unrelated, but oh, this is when the organizer died.
Alright.
He was found dead in the tomb itself, so he died over in Egypt? Presumably? Well, discovered by Andrew Weatherby, who I think also is dead.
Yep.
Strangled to death with linen bandages, alright. Several of the locals work on called upon his forgiveness. Okay. I feel like we should probably send Holmes and Watson over to the library to read up on all this crap. Entertainment. What do we got? Piano recitals. Piano and violin.
Song and dance. Oh no, a disaster at sea. That is quite a disaster. Holy cow.
Whoa. Yeah, dang. Quite the weather event there.
Next.
Now we're getting into like last year, which is when they started. Let's do a quick scroll down this side, see if anything. Lions.
Oh no, not the lions.
Super Dragon Ball Heroes is a very good game if you like collecting things, and also a game that's basically just a timing minigame. And also really weird stuff, because you can do some really weird things, and there are some very strange characters that you will not see anywhere else. That's how the docks. This all seems like it's not related, so let's look at this. What's in this purpose? Hello, Wind, what's up? I gave a lecture. This is a really long, not particularly interesting news story. Legal notices, a mysterious death.
Oh no.
Probably not related. Now we got a very old. Strange event. Yeah, it's a pretty strange event, alright.
Huh.
Drowned. Did you try the Dragon Quest Monsters 3DS remake?
No?
Yeah, I don't think that's something we picked up.
We haven't gotten anything for the 3DS in years.
This really old paper seems kind of useless. Alright.
I have a Japanese phone, so I wouldn't be able to read it if I got it on my phone.
I need to look at those 3 names again. James Windebank, Ebenezer Turnbull, and Andrew Weatherby. What do we know about this guy? That's on the Earl of Downey. Alright. Winneback was one, right? Yeah, this guy. What do we know about this guy? Professor of Egyptology. That's a very odd,
statement there, yeah.
do we know the Anti-Vivisectionist League?
Wait.
Is that here?
Andrew Weatherby.
Weatherby. Andrew / Clarissa, huh? Nothing.
Alright.
Send one of the irregulars over there, see what they can dig up for us. Useless.
Cool.
Here it is, Holmes. Egyptian mummies are embalmed bodies preserved to facilitate their resurrection. Many mummies have been found, and they are almost always the bodies of pharaohs. The pharaohs believed that one day their bodies would be brought back to life. See History of Egyptian Mummies by Pettigrew, London, 1834.
Very good, Watson.
Cool.
Wow.
That was useful. Apparently that was considered relevant, actually.
Oh, well, While you think about what to do next, I'm gonna go get dinner.
I will think about what to do next. Ow. Let's see what the tech. Let's see what he has to say. Let's see what the guy who's investigating the bodies has to say.
Beg your pardon, but could I have a word with you, Sir Jasper?
Dr. Watson, of course. Are you investigating the death of Samuel Sneed? I just finished with him.
No, we're interested in James Windibank.
Ah, the mummy's latest victim, of course. Who hired Holmes for this one? King Tut?
Oh, that's a jolly good one. Actually, we don't have a client on this one.
Just for fun, eh? Well, about the only thing I can tell you is that mummy has very powerful hands.
What do you mean?
The trachea was crushed along with one of the vertebrae of the neck. Death was instantaneous. Snap.
But the papers reports say that there were mummy wrappings found round the neck.
Just window dressing. Without question, it was bare hands. The bruises and the way that the vertebrae was crushed leave no doubt about that.
Thank you very much for your time, Sir Jasper. We're very much appreciative.
Not at all, Watson. You will let me know when you've convicted the mummy.
Beg your pardon?
Well, so I can perform an autopsy on him. Would be most fascinating, don't you think?
Well, that was actually probably useful. They were killed by somebody very strong. I seem to recall reading something. About a circus. Not in this one. Entertainment, here we go. Song and dance. Song sensation. Yeah, I think I was just crazy and remembering something completely out of left field. Stabbed to death. Killed by lightning, failed railway accident. Yeah, that's why I wanted to look at this without having actually gone into it at all. I figured once we know what it is, it's over. There's no point in doing it again. Shot. Ah, here we go. Hengler's Circus, huh? Well, Circus might have a mighty powerful man. Mary O'Neill. And Hengler's Circus. Mr. Slade. Roy Slade. Looks like that was all a smoke and mirrors.
Well, well. If it isn't Mr. Sherlock Holmes, London's most overly praised amateur sleuth, needing the help of the Yard again.
Are you going to stand for that, Holmes?
Let's just see who proceeds to solve this case, Watson. Inspector Lestrade, my good man, I'm looking into the cause of James Windibank's death.
I should have known. That murder has brought out every crank in the city. I think the professional police can wrap this one up.
All the same, could you tell us what you've discovered to date?
One dead archaeologist, no suspect, no motive.
And what of Andrew Weatherby's death? Have you looked into that?
I have talked to Captain Ramsey, but we have no leads. Look, I'm not even sure that Weatherby's murder falls into our jurisdiction. And if it doesn't, you're not going to find me worrying about it. As it is, I have enough murders to take care of.
Felt like that might have been a waste of time. So while you were out, we found out this and this.
Okay. That last one was cool info.
Some of the kids talk to the captain. Alright. Well, that did prevent us personally from wasting time. And that was considered relevant because it was only 5 points. Wizard Tenny. In fact, that means we should maybe talk to Luther Tenney ourselves. What do you think?
Agreed.
I have no idea. Someone sent this to me. We get points depending on how relevant what we do is, and the object is to have a low score. So golf scoring.
Let me tell you, a murder, even by a 4,000-year-old mummy, was only one odd thing in a string of bad luck on this voyage.
What sort of bad luck?
It all started with the crew, really. Seamen are a rather superstitious lot to begin with, and the idea carrying about a 4,000-year-old mummy had them shivering in their timbers. We almost faced a bloody mutiny. Then there were the passengers, a strange lot. I can tell you that reporter fellow, Travis, did us no service at all with his mystic mumbo-jumbo. He and Professor Windibank had a regular war of words going on about whatever powers this mummy was supposed to have. And there was the two Arabs.
Arabs? Interesting. Do you recall their names?
I should hope I do. One was called Fahmy. He always carried around this curious little box. No clue what was in it, but Fahmy never let it out of his sight. The other one's name was Al-Sad, and he spent most of his time lurking about watching Fahmy. My guess is he wanted that box.
Sounds like you had your hands full.
I haven't even told you about the fight yet between Mr. Weatherby and Mr. Arubaru.
Over what?
Weatherby's wife, I'd say, though they were a tight-lipped lot about it.
I see. Tell me, Lieutenant, we understand that you were the first person to discover the body.
Yes, sir, I was. Captain Ramsey sent me down to inspect the hold. And I went immediately over to them Egyptian crates. Professor Windibank was particularly anxious about him, you know.
Could you describe the scene as you remember it?
I'll never forget it. I just made my way to the back of the hold, and I noticed at the top of them crates, the one what carried the mummy's coffin was raised up kind of funny like. The coffin lid was laid off to one side, and there was Mr. Weatherby all sprawled on the floor next to a bowl of ashes. He'd been strangled by a length of the mummy's sheeting. It was bloody gruesome, I tell you. Poor bloke's eyes popped out like A couple of sausages on a hot iron skillet.
Quite a vivid picture, don't you agree, Holmes?
Quite. And you reported this to Captain Ramsey straight away?
Absolutely. In fact, the captain put me in charge of the entire investigation.
And what did you discover? Did anybody have any contact with Weatherby on the night of the murder?
Not that I know of. I could account for all the crew. And the passengers were in their cabins as far as anyone knew or would say. Nobody saw anything, heard anything, or knew anything. Besides, Weatherby was seasick from the beginning. He stayed pretty much in his cabin all the time. Maybe that's why the lovely young Mrs. Weatherby was gallivanting about.
With Uruburu?
Yes, indeed.
And what of the bowl? Where is it now?
The bowl?
With the ashes.
Oh, yes. You know, now that you mention it, I don't recall ever seeing it again.
That was a lot of information.
Do we have a Mr. Uruburu?
We can see. Yeah, apparently this guy, while wasn't so seasick that he couldn't get into a punch-up. I've already forgotten the Arabman's name, but I get the feeling, since they're not really expounded upon, that at the moment it's not super important. Uruburu. Do we know an Uruburu? We do know an Uruburu. Got nothing on him. I'm glad that we also have a listing for vegetarian restaurant.
Well, you know, the anti-vivisection crowd.
Yeah, that's probably where they hang out, isn't it? Let's see. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Haha.
Suddenly I've stopped caring about score. Hang on.
They had absolutely no information pertaining to this case.
I thought not, Watson. It appears that we've wasted our time.
I was hoping something would happen with that, but whatever. That feels like a missed opportunity to me. Yeah, well, let's scout this guy out with this kid. That was pretty useless, child. Should we go ourselves, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
If this is an inconvenient time, perhaps I could come back, Mr. Uruburu.
Wouldn't hear of it. Just a bit of a hangover. I've weathered plenty worse than this.
I'm investigating the death of Andrew Weatherby. You were on the ship with him out of Cairo. Did you happen to make his acquaintance?
Weatherby, a most tedious fellow.
So tedious, one might want to do him in.
Don't be preposterous. In my condition, I couldn't have done anything of the sort.
What condition was that?
And I thought you were a great detective. The first night out, a few of us threw a bit of a bash that went on until we docked in London.
Did Mrs. Weatherby attend this particular bash?
She was the guest of honor, you might say.
Gross. I feel like that was basically useless aside from,
I definitely had an affair.
I'm Aside from I was too busy having an affair to kill the man. And the irregulars did make it so we didn't have to go waste our time talking to the captain to find out that the captain wasn't going to know anything anyway. I feel like maybe we should go talk to Miss Weatherby. The kids were useless in talking to the Weatherbys, but,
Well, one of them's dead.
I'm very sorry to intrude on you in your moment of grief.
Oh, that's quite all right. You know, Andrew and I hadn't been married very long.
Long enough to know if you had any enemies?
Oh, Andrew was so unassuming. Everyone liked him.
Including Mr. Uruburu?
I really loved my husband.
I'm sure you did. Oh, English toffee. My favorite.
Would you like one?
Please.
Sorry, you'll have to open this yourself. I've never been any good with these things.
So, given we know the killer has very strong hands, we can rule her out pretty reliably, I think. Also decided not to, like, call her out on the affair or anything, which I guess is fine.
That's also what the kids learned, though.
Yeah, so that was kind of pointless. I mean, our score is gonna be bad, it's fine. Especially because I gotta do things like visit frickin' Bilbo. That was considered to be relevant, though. Since relevant locations are only a 10-point hit. What was this place again? Wills. Births and deaths. Okay, I like good stuff. Who are you again? Writer for the Police Gazette. Feeling a little, lacking on leads here all of a sudden. What else could we follow up on? Yes, that is correct, Wind. At the end, we have to go to the judge and answer some questions, and missing a question is a whopping 50-point smack, so, want to make sure you got your ducks in a row. So I looked at the circus while you were away, too.
Okay.
But we have nothing on the circus, so I was thinking, oh, strong hands, I remember seeing a circus, maybe that's related. But we now know that the killer has to have been on the boat, because that guy said all three of the men had the same, crunched trachea.
We'll look up the foreigners. See if we can find them.
Oh yeah, when the boat came back. When was that? I think we only had one thing that had foreigners in it. I think that was the first one, right? Foreign arrivals. I feel like this is just boats.
Oh, yeah.
That would, however, mean there would be people in the registry, right? What did they say about registry stuff? Marriage's death probate registry.
And wills.
We did check the library and got nothing of value. Well, we got something the game claims was of value, but was not really of help immediately. We learned about the embalming practices of mummies from the library. Well, I'm pretty sure this guy's probably an Arab. Dramatic Art College. Let's see what we got here. Houston Station.
The English Archaeological Society.
English Archaeological Society. What do you know about the English Archaeological? Nothing. Cool.
What about Elephant and Castle?
Entertainment place. What else do we got in here? Got hotels. Got our brother. I feel like that would be amusing, but maybe not necessary at the moment. The Kangaroo Club. Looking to see if there's anything that... Well, Lestrade told us that they talked to the ship captain and learned nothing, which we learned was true by sending the irregulars to the ship captain. But then we got more information than he got because we went and talked to his first in command. Bridge station. So we have some stations. I'm looking to see if I can find a, like, ferry thing or something. Bailey. Telegrams. A couple of reverends. Office of Records.
The files say about it.
Criminal, civil, and state papers. That might be useful. Oh, the shipping register.
There you go.
Should we send one of the kids, or should we just go over there?
Kid.
May or may not be worth following up. Cinnabar Xenos. What a name. I appreciate ye old Cheshire cheese also. What do we know about this place?
The best cheddar in London. Of course.
You know what? That's fine. That's good enough. Yeah, looks like that was considered a miss. Yeah, I'm kind of stumped. What do we? Well, what's a good follow-up here? Okay, so
what about the university?
Definitely somebody there. The university might be a good Or the Archaeological Society. Just to get more information on the people. Let's check the university first, though. Do you remember what the name of the university was?
Like London University?
Yeah. I guess our other option, we go to Scotland Yard and check out, like, the actual criminology. Go, child. I should have expected that. Let's just go ourselves.
Such a tragedy. Fine men all, and such outstanding scholars. I still can't quite get over the shock of it.
We understand.
Professor, we're looking for background information on these three men so that we can understand how their murders might tie together.
Well, let me begin with Dr. Turnbull. Ebenezer Turnbull was responsible for organizing the Carteret expedition. Quite a remarkable man, really. This was the first time he teamed up with James Windibank. Professor Windibank was one of our most popular lecturers. In fact, several of his former students were also eager to accompany him. I recall him saying that he was having difficulty choosing. Weatherby turned out to be the lucky one. Though it seems far from it now, doesn't it? I suppose Smith and Travis turned out to be the lucky ones after all.
Smith and Travis?
Peter Smith accepted the invitation to join another expedition. As for Philip Travis, he was quite keen on accompanying Professor Windibank. In fact, he became exceedingly upset when Andrew Weatherby, a postgraduate student in the department, was chosen instead. Took it rather personally, I should say.
Well, those seem like leads, don't they? What is it? This guy, right?
Yep.
And nothing on him.
Then Peter Smith was the other one.
Yeah, anything about Smith?
He's right up there.
Nothing. Should we bother sending a kid, or should we just go knock on...
And go harass him.
So you've been reading my articles in the Times. I'm honored. What do you think of them?
Quite interesting. You've clearly been following the murders quite closely. Who do you suspect?
I believe it is the work of the ancient Egyptian god Pumatef and his goddess Neith.
Be serious.
I couldn't be more serious. You see, Mr. Holmes, although I am a journalist, I was actually trained as an Egyptologist. I know all about these mysteries. That's why my articles carry the force of truth.
And what is the truth, Mr. Travis?
The truth is that the Egyptians discovered the secret of life. What we call science is mere child's play compared to the knowledge they had. Look at this. Do you know what this is?
It appears to be a mummified animal of some sort. A monkey, perhaps?
Precisely.
Write a conversation piece.
I've been using it in some very important experiments which, if successful, will unlock the secret for bringing back the souls of the dead. I've been working on it, Mr. Holmes, using these tanner leaves. Watch. Uma Lotus. Licantina. Burura.
It appears that the soul of this particular monkey has no intention of making a reappearance.
It's only a matter of time. I know it is. After all, these secrets have been buried for thousands of years. These things don't happen overnight. But it will happen someday. This is my mission.
I believe I'll leave you to your work, Mr. Travis.
Don't go yet. Let me show you more.
Thank you. Some other time, perhaps.
Well, that was cool.
Uh-huh.
Gonna just, leave and never return. Send a kid over to see what they got on,
Yeah.
He just straight up ain't here. Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure that the Egyptian gods did not personally kill these 3 men. Just, if I had to venture a guess.
I mean, that seems like a good guess to me.
Let's go visit the criminology lab, why the hell not?
Pettigrew wrote this book over 50 years ago, and there's still nothing better on the subject. Fascinating. Just fascinating. And what can I do for you today, Whitson?
It's Watson, sir.
Watson, yes, of course.
We're interested in what you may have learned about this mummy case.
Oh, so these days it's mummies you're chasing down with that fella Helms.
It's Holmes, sir.
This is what I said now, isn't it, Whitson?
Yes, I believe you did, sir.
Let me show you what I found so far. This is the bit of linen that was found round the neck of James Windibank. I examined it thoroughly, and it is quite old, perhaps thousands of years. However, it is not the murder weapon.
Are you certain of that?
Aye. The linen is quite old, but it's not at all strong enough to strangle a grown man.
Very interesting, sir.
I also found something quite fascinating. Take a look through this glass. Do you see those short hairs on the fabric?
They look precisely like hairs.
Of course they look like hairs. But what kind of hairs? They're not human hairs. They're dog hairs. Now, look at this. This piece of linen was found round the neck of the victim on board the ship. Well, his name was Leatherby or something. It is also quite old, and on it I found more hairs.
More dog hairs?
No, my dear man, monkey hairs. I've not yet been able to identify the precise species, but it's just extraordinary, isn't it?
Quite. But what do you think it all means?
Well, I'm not the sort who likes to jump to conclusions, Whitson. But I can assure you that neither of these bandages were the murder weapons.
Dun dun dun.
Alright, so that just corroborates what we learned from the other guy. And gives us a little more information that there's animal hairs on the,
His spell worked in the past. And it was the monkey that murdered.
The monkey did it. And we do know a guy with a mummified monkey, so that's actually possibly good information. Dang it, Chim Chim.
Now, the thing what does strike me as odd is the passenger list of the Eastern Empress. Now, I'm not saying it has anything to do with the mummy murders, mind you, but it was a bit out of the ordinary.
What was Hogg?
Akram Palmi, for starters. He's a well-known importer, he is. For a price, a considerable price by all accounts, he can acquire whatever one's heart desires, be it jewels, art objects, or even wild animals, if that's what you fancy. I'd say he was on board that ship to transport something very valuable.
The presence of one high-powered importer on a London-bound vessel is hardly reason for suspicion.
Right-o. But Abdullah al-Saad was also on board.
Oh, yes. The well-known agent for the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire.
You never miss a trick, do you, Holmes? Well, whatever it was what Palmi was carrying, I'd say it was something those Turks wanted to get their hands on.
Well, that was interesting. I think we should visit this man and see,
Well, Holmes, I checked in with Mr. Al-Sad's manservant and...
And you discovered that Mr. Al-Sad was not at home.
But however did you know that?
Elementary, my dear Watson. I noticed some crumpet crumbs from the corner bakery stuck to your lapel. You haven't been gone long enough to stop for tea and interview anyone at length.
Most observant, sir.
he ain't home. That's what the irregulars are for. I missed the other name entirely.
What about the museum?
Just the museum in general? What do we know about the museum? It's a museum.
Cool.
That is an excellent question. The Quist Bros.
It's quite amusing, all this hoopla over a mummy's curse, I must say. Not so amusing, of course, the murder of 3 Englishmen.
Have any of your reporters uncovered anything new?
Actually, I've been in Paris the past several weeks. Just returned to London on Tuesday. I've had no involvement with the writing of any of these articles. I believe they are all the work of Philip Travis. He's one of our young reporters. For a short time, he was the Egyptian correspondent.
Was he sacked?
No. He returned to London just a few days ago. I gather he was reassigned to cover the case from here because he had some familiarity with a murder in Egypt.
Do you know Travis?
No, never actually met the chap, although I hear he's a bit of an odd duck.
Thanks for your help, Henry.
Anytime. Let me know when you catch the mummy. That's one scoop I'd like to get.
Okay.
So that's another way we kind of found out about Travis. I suppose.
Egypt. That's what I wanted to say. English Archaeological Society.
You might want to go over there.
Yes.
You want to visit?
Yes.
Want to waste some time?
Yes.
Let's go.
Yay.
This seemed to be a dead end. No one had any information that could help us solve this case.
Rip. Lame.
Yeah, I keep missing that guy's name too. Might be this guy though.
Go visit him. Find out.
See if he's home.
Nope.
Nobody was home, but I smelled a rat.
Dun dun dun.
I mean, let's go take a drink.
There was a couple of blokes in here just a fortnight ago what mentioned the Eastern Empress. Never seen 'em before, haven't seen 'em since. One was a swarthy fellow, Arab unless I miss my guess. The other was an old English gent. I overheard him say something about a bird and later caught the name of the ship. I hope that helps you. Care for a drink, yeah?
It's Holmes, so I assume he took a drink.
Probably. Older English gentleman, huh? That ain't the guy I want. No. Let's go to the Hall of Records, why not?
Mr. Turnbull apparently left what little he had to the Egyptology department at London University. And Windbank left everything to his wife Hildegard.
What about Weatherby?
Ditto. Everything was left to his wife Clarissa. Although being such a young chap, it hardly seems that he had much to leave at all.
I mean, that all checks out, right?
Yep.
Good morning.
Morning.
No, it's nighttime for us.
Evening.
I'm pretty sure we've just given up on, like, getting a decent score on this, so, You already checked out Clarissa and know that she definitely didn't kill the guy. Because she has weak girl hands. Look, I'm just calling it as I see it. You don't need to punch me.
I'm just showing you how weak girl hands are.
Which one of these guys have we not talked to yet? This guy. But that doesn't seem valuable at the moment. Can't talk to this guy either.
Well, Holmes, it appears we're out of luck. The clerk told me that O'Brien is off on holiday.
Haha.
Actually, something I'm curious about. We get something different if we go back here. Given that we learned a little more.
So you've been reading my...
No, same. Alright, good to know, good to know, good to know.
This seemed to be a dead end. No one had any information that could help us solve this case.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I had to check. You got any ideas?
What about the other shipping company?
Oh yeah, I think I just remembered. We know the name of the ship, let's just go there ourselves. This is where I just was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Let's try this one. Aha.
Here is a passenger list you requested, sir.
Louise Fenwick.
Okay, here we go. So this guy ain't home, this guy ain't home. The Fenwicks we didn't have before.
Weirdo.
Weird guy, this guy, some dead
guy, dead guy's wife, and another dead guy.
So I guess that means we should go check out the Fenwicks. As they are the only people we have not talked to that were on the boat. Let's see if they're actually home first. They are home. Maybe.
I'm sorry, but I don't know anything about the death of old... whatever his name was.
Andrew Weatherby.
Fact is, I only saw the gentleman once, just as we were boarding. And I'll tell you, I resented the first officer's questioning us on the matter, and I resent yours.
The whole voyage was a disaster from beginning to end. Our accommodations were positively abysmal. They wouldn't even let us bring Dickie into our cabin.
Dickie? Her high-strung, distasteful little mutt.
How can you say that, Merrill? You know Dickie is a blue-blooded Yorkshire Terrier. Mumsy will be with you in just a moment, Dickiekins. He's a bit under the weather, you know. That's why we were only able to stay in Egypt for 2 weeks. Dickie was so disappointed. He so wanted to see the Sphinx.
Mr. Holmes is not interested in your incessant whining, Louise.
Oh, now I whine, do I? There was a time you thought I had a lovely speaking voice. It's true, Mr. Holmes. He once adored me.
No doubt.
Oh, for the love of God, Louise, spare us your blubbering.
What a dick.
Ugh.
It covers our dog hairs, right?
Yep. Look up Dickie the dog.
I don't think they're gonna have a file on Dickie the dog. The kids said that there wasn't anybody here. I'm gonna go anyway.
Hello? Is anyone there? Mr. Holmes, are you at home?
He's dead.
Apparently so, Watson.
Look. Oh, what ghastly business. Everyone will assume the mummy has struck again.
Hardly a plausible assumption. This poor fellow has a knife in his back and not a scrap of sheeting about his neck.
How very observant, Holmes.
Ring up Scotland Yard. This case is simple enough for them to solve.
You've solved it already.
Elementary, my dear Watson. Obviously, it was the butler.
Butler? What butler?
Exactly my point. A man as wealthy as Akram Fahmy would always have a manservant about him. After the foul deed, this one obviously beat a hasty retreat.
Well, we solved a different case. We did it.
Hooray.
Just update the files.
Nope.
Also is dead. There we go. I mean... Okay.
What was the other one that they couldn't do anything with?
Abdullah, they claimed he was not in town. Can we go to Baker Street? No, we can't go to where we are. Yeah, this guy they said wasn't home.
Nope.
Well, these guys were useless. This guy's dead. Let's drop in on old brother.
What did you learn, Watson?
Not a thing, Holmes.
You learned nothing?
Don't get testy, Holmes. There wasn't anyone about.
My humble apologies, Watson.
Okay.
So we can't talk to Mycroft because he ain't home.
Wah, wah, wah.
We talked to you and learned nothing useful. I haven't talked to this guy yet. I don't think it's going to be of any...
Sorry, fellow.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be brusque, but I am too occupied at the moment to concern myself with these so-called mummy murders. Perhaps if the mummy's solicitor were to contact me, then perhaps I would consider defending him.
Yeah, that kind of followed, right?
Yeah.
What's some Jasper briefing? Right. I haven't talked to this guy either.
I know only a very little about two of the unfortunate gentlemen. I do recall that Turnbull was quite an eccentric chap. I don't believe he ever married, nor did he take his rightful place in London society.
And what of Windybank?
A quiet academic sort, as far as I can tell. Married to a woman called Hildegard. There was one spot of controversy that I can recall. It seems a few years back he had a run-in with the Anti-Vivisectionist League.
No, but of course.
It seems that during a lecture on the advancement of science, he spoke of the autopsy of his own pet, a recently deceased Yorkshire Terrier. Well, I can tell you the Times received a great deal of letters to the editor condemning him on that one. Even one from a Louise Fenwick, who threatened to vivisect him.
Oh, dear. Well, then I surmise it's Weatherby you know nothing about.
Well, now that you mention it, I believe he was assisting Professor Windybank in that lecture series.
Oh, we're getting a whole bunch of things tying in circles here, but we're not really making any progress.
Is there a Hildegard in our directory?
We have to go through all these, aren't we? Wait, I figured it out.
I'm sure it's not Ms. Mummy. I didn't see her.
I didn't either.
Weird.
He's married to one of the guys.
One of the dead guys.
Not him.
The Windybank one?
Probably this guy.
Okay.
And that tells us something we already knew, so probably not worth following up on. weren't going back to the same place. Yeah, you don't want to get points is the thing. We've kind of given up on getting a good score. But yeah, only 5 points does mean that was considered irrelevant. You think we should follow up on it?
I mean, what else are we gonna do?
Yeah, just out of lack of anything better to do.
James was so thrilled when Dr. Turnbull invited him to join the expedition. He felt he had spent his entire life reading books about archaeology, and now was finally getting an opportunity to go out into the field.
Tell me, Mrs. Winterberg, when your husband returned, did he discuss the deaths of his colleagues?
Of course. James was extremely upset. I know he did not believe a curse to be responsible. My husband was a man of science.
Okay.
Alright.
Time to go to the judge.
I don't feel like we have anything we can really put together.
Well, Judge, this guy has a mummified monkey, and...
Turnbull. I need a Turnbull. That seems like it's worth following up on, probably.
Dr. Turnbull, he was a strange one, he was. Hardly ever at home, always traipsing about the Lord knows where.
May I take a look at his things?
Oh, suit yourself. All he had is a big pile of books about Egyptian mummies and a few maps. He was a son of an earl, he was. Though you hardly tell from looking at him, poor fellow. Do you really think this mummy thing's what's done him in? Creepy, I says.
Yeah, that was worth it.
That was definitely worthwhile. Going back to the same person gets you the same result, so there's no point in revisiting. Which is weird, because we learned things that you'd think would be...
something that you could, like, bring up.
I feel like we went here once and found out that he wasn't home.
Well, Holmes, I checked it.
Yeah. I guess we could try going to the judge and see how badly we get ruined.
Destroyed.
It's getting about time we gotta go to bed, so I might as well fail it entirely, huh?
Hooray.
Anywhere else that looks like it might be worth checking up on? Financial Times is probably useless.
Go back to the F section. Francis J.B.
Let's go.
What did you learn, Watson?
Not a thing, Holmes.
You learned nothing.
Worthless.
Yeah, we can check out the cheese. Go get some cheese.
This seemed to be a dead end. No one had any information that could help us solve this case.
Alas. Go to the vegetarian restaurant. Not replay.
Okay, fine. Vegetarian restaurant. Let's go.
This seemed to be a dead end. No one had any information that could help us solve this case.
I feel like there's something really obvious that we're missing. Let's go visit these guys.
It appears that they've just left. There are fresh footsteps retreating from the front door.
But look, Holmes, there are also some coming towards the door.
Terribly observant, Watson. However, the prints you are looking at belong to us.
Wait. Don't think that's worthwhile. Now we did talk to the Fenwicks and
What about Elephant and Castle?
yeah, let's go to the Elephant Castle. Why not? Let's just
This seemed to be a dead end.
dead end.
Alright.
It's at the university, and that didn't really tell us anything valuable. Okay, what the hell is a kangaroo club?
Oh.
I guess that follows.
Australian expats.
Look at the National Gallery. What's going on here? Flemish and Dutch paintings. That seems like a problem for a telegram company.
Yeah.
I think we've gone to criminal investigations itself. Oh, that's just Lestrade.
Well, well.
Who we've already talked to.
Pawn shop.
This seemed to be a dead end.
Worthless.
Yeah, it's getting late. We gotta start getting up early to get back to work. Let's just fail this.
Okay.
Hear ye, hear ye. The Queen's Court now stands in order.
Cool.
Cool video.
Mr. Holmes, I understand you've been looking into the mummy murders.
Yes, my lord.
Tell me then, who was Ebenezer Turnbull's murderer?
Travis. Travis. Hey.
Terribly sorry, gentlemen, that is not at all correct.
Why? Why you gotta be like that?
Yeah.
Go again.
You want me to do Travis?
Travis.
Mr. Holmes, I understand you've been looking... And what makes you so certain? What was Travis' motive for killing Turnbull? Positively incorrect. I'm afraid you haven't done a good enough job of putting your brains to the task.
Yeah, I feel like the judge already knows who did this, so what are we doing here? Yeah, he was arguing with Windibank. Let's do it one more time, shall we?
Sure.
Mr. Holmes, I understand you've been looking... And what makes you so certain? What was Travis' motive for killing Turnbull? And what of Andrew Weatherby? Who murdered him?
Weatherby was the one who was killed on the boat, correct?
Yeah.
Positively incorrect. I'm afraid you haven't done a good...
The one that slept with her. I mean, the wife.
Brute force it.
Mr. Holmes, I understand you've been looking into... And what makes you... And what of Andrew Weatherby?
That would be...
Who murdered him?
Rubu? Wrong.
Terribly so...
Judge, how come we gotta, like, solve 3 cases in one here?
Yeah, just out of stupid curiosity. It wasn't just Travis all 3 times, was it?
Mr. Holmes, I understand. And what makes you so...
That seems
and what
stupid.
Of Andrew Weatherby? So, you say Travis killed Turnbull and Weatherby?
Yes, I believe he did, my lord.
But what was his motive to kill Weatherby, Mr. Holmes? Ah, revenge. The oldest motive in the book. Now, Mr. Holmes, who killed James Windibank?
Nah, this is the Fenwick.
I think this is the Fenwick? I feel like Travis
Mr.
all
Holmes,
3 times is a
I
little
understand you've been
on the
looking into
nose.
the mummy murder.
Yeah.
And what makes you so certain? And what of Andrew Weatherby? So, you
Angry
say
that he wasn't chosen.
revenge.
Do
The
it again.
oldest motive. This Travis seems to be quite a busy fellow. What made him kill James Windibank? Positively incorrect. I'm afraid you haven't...
Could have sworn it would be that one, 'cause I was the guy who didn't believe in curses.
Mr. Holmes, I understand you've been looking into... And what makes you so certain? And what of Andrew Weatherby? So, you say Travis... Ah, revenge. The oldest motive... This Travis seems to be quite a busy fellow. What made him kill James Windibank? Well, you've done an admirable job in resolving this
Hooray.
mystery. I'd say you're on a par with just about any other armchair detective out there. I would suggest, however, that you rethink this case again, thereby improving your sleuthing skills.
We did it.
Yay!
My word, dear Holmes. Perhaps we are in the wrong business altogether. I think I will ring up the university immediately and see if we might enroll in a detective course.
We did a really horrible job. Okay. What is the Holmes solution?
Well, Watson, I believe this case is solved. And for your information, it was not the mummy.
Come, Holmes. I never thought for a moment it was the mummy.
Of course not, Watson. However, the murderer and the mummy did have one thing in common.
What's that?
They both were the only ones present at the time of the murders, except, of course, the victims.
You state the obvious, Holmes.
Ah, but it is seeing the obvious that is important. First, I saw no reason to assume that we were dealing with more than one murderer. Secondly, the locations of the murders limited the number of suspects.
Limited them? The first murder was in Egypt, the second on ship in the middle of the sea, and the third in London. You call the entire populations of London and Egypt a limited number of suspects?
No, Watson. We had to find someone who was in Egypt for the first murder, on the ship for the second, and in London for the third.
Oh, but of course.
According to the newspapers, the Eastern Empress was in Bombay at the time of Ebenezer Turnbull's murder, so that eliminated the ship's crew as suspects. Thus, I needed the list of passengers who boarded the ship at Cairo. It was our visit to Jardine, Mason and Company that provided our first critical clue. From it, I learned that Philip Travis was a passenger. I then learned that Travis was the chap who reported on the first murder. He became one suspect, but I had no motive. Clarissa Weatherby, who was also at the scene of the murder in Cairo, was another possible suspect, since she appears to have had a bit of a dalliance with Mr. Uruburu there on the high seas. So I had found her motive for the murder of Weatherby, but not a motive for the murder of the others.
Then whom did you eliminate?
Mrs. Weatherby. Her hands were not strong enough even to open a jar of English toffee, let alone strangle a grown man.
And what of Travis's motive?
It seems that Travis was a student in the Egyptology department at London University and had studied under James Windibank. He wanted very badly to be chosen as a member of the expedition, but Windibank turned him down. Instead, Weatherby was chosen and Travis was furious. So there you have the motive for two of the murders.
And what of his motive for the murder of Turnbull?
Evidently, Travis had written a vicious article questioning Dr. Turnbull's credentials to lead the expedition. Turnbull's response was quite harsh. Probably powerful enough to drive an odd duck like Travis to murder.
Very impressive, Holmes.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Hooray.
We did it. Alright, just out of curiosity.
What?
Get it all right away?
Let's see. Go here.
Here is a passenger list you requested, sir.
Get the list. Send the kid over there to learn that her hands are weak. Let's go visit the university too, just to...
Such a tragedy. Fine men all, and such
hear the information.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, but it seems you will have to turn up a clue or two more before
Ah, you can't
I'll
just do
judge
it.
this
Okay.
case.
Aha.
That was what I was curious about.
You have to do 5 points more before you can do it, I think. Go visit Travis. And try.
Oops. That was not what I wanted. Let's go visit Travis himself. Let's get above his score and see if it lets us go.
So
there.
you've been reading...
Just slightly above his score. Will this work?
No, gentlemen. You haven't done a thorough enough job of investigating yet. Do continue your sleuthing.
Huh.
I'm not interested in trying to speed run this right now. Given I have no idea what of all the random things we did was considered enough.
Yeah. Just send the tiny boys out to do all your work for you.
Yeah, there's only one case in this one. Not the barrister. You.
Beg your pardon, but could I have a word with...
Learning that they were crushed that way enough?
No,
Nope.
Let me
No.
Yeah, I don't know what else was important enough to count, so I'm gonna just call it here because we gotta get to bed.
Yep.
Anyways, this is a weird little game, but I think it was worth taking a quick look at. Anyways, later, guys.
Farewell.